You can start.
Hey, thank you, Alexandra. And welcome everybody to the October 12th, 2022 full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 6. My name is Kyle Athaide, and I am the chair of Manhattan Community Board 6. This meeting is called to order at 7:02 p.m. and tonight we are joined by Secretary Matt Bondi, District Manager Jesus Perez, Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth, and Community Associate Alexandra Crawford. As a reminder, New York State law now requires all community board members to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the meeting is adjourned. If your camera is not on and your name not properly displayed, you cannot count towards quorum. To conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. First, no one may speak until granted the floor. Please first raise your hand through Zoom and wait for the chair to recognize you. Then you can unmute and make your comment. The chat function should not be used for Cb6 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information such as an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. And to the members of the public, if you wish to give remarks during the public session and have not already registered by filling out the form on the Cb6 website ahead of time, you can register to speak in the public session by using the Q&A feature of Zoom and posting your name, your affiliation, and the specific topic you wish to speak about. This should be completed by 7:15 p.m. And board members, we are required by the state open meetings law to have our Zoom cameras on again and our first and last name displayed during tonight's entire meeting from call to order to adjournment. If you must step away from your computer briefly, you are still required to leave your camera on. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office, was posted online, and appears on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. So board members, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom. Okay, seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. We'll now take attendance by roll call.
Okay, board members, please unmute yourselves and answer present when I call your name. Majid Abdul Salam.
Present.
Kyle Athaide. Kyle Athaide.
Present.
Neil Barkley.
Present.
Marty Barrett.
Present.
Elvie Barroso.
Present.
Claire Brennan.
Present.
Jim Collins. Jim. John D'Erico.
Present.
Stuart Desser.
Present.
Michael Devereaux. Michael. Okay, B. Disman.
Present.
Jeannie D'Onofrio. Jeannie. Okay, Jason Fromowitz.
Present.
Eric Goldberg.
Present.
Thank you. Adam Hartke.
Present.
Molly Hollister. Molly. Sadie Howard. Sadie. Okay, Paige Judge.
Present.
John Keller.
Present.
Nadeem Kalani.
Present.
Abigail Cruzmark. Abigail. All right. Sandra Leftoff.
Here.
Jason Littman.
Present.
Anton Malner.
Present.
Kavitha Matthew.
Present.
Thank you. Sandra McKee.
Present.
Richard Mintz.
Present.
Philip Napolitano. Philip. All right, Rajesh Nayar,
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe,
Present.
Stephen O,
Present.
Reshma Patel,
Present.
Matt Roberts,
Present.
Lawrence Shire, Larry, okay, Ann Seligman, Ann, okay, Lou Sapersky,
Yo.
Seema Shah,
Present.
Sandro Sharad, Sandro, okay, Ayesha Siddiqui,
Aye.
hi, okay, thank you, Letty Simon,
Present.
okay, Hannah Singleman,
Present.
Susan Steinberg,
Present.
Mark Thompson,
Present.
Gabriel Terzo,
Present.
Ryan Van Nieuwenhoven,
Present.
Matthew Weintraub,
Present.
and Maura Wong.
Present.
Ronnie White. Ronnie?
Present.
Okay, thank you, Ronnie. Okay. And Majid, I'm sorry I got your name incorrect. I'll do better. We have a quorum.
Hey, Matt. I'm sorry. Hey, Matt, the microphone did not pick up Larry. So Larry, would you say present for the record?
Present.
Okay, I
And the
got it.
camera's not
Thanks.
picking. Is the camera picking me up yet?
It is. It will. It's temperamental, but it will.
Okay, I'm present for all concerned.
Okay, got you, Larry. Thank you all. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. I've asked all of our elected officials to send over the reports ahead of time so that we can compile them. You can find all of the reports that were submitted on the Cb6 website. The link to the reports was disseminated ahead of time to all board members and the general public, and for your convenience can be found in the chat now. I will now call on each of the elected officials who have RSVP'd so they can take questions from Cb6 members and the public about their pre-submitted reports. Each elected official will have 1 minute to field questions. If there are no questions, we will move to the next elected official on our list. If an elected official has a time-sensitive matter to report on that didn't make it into their pre-submitted report, they will have 3 minutes to do so. During this part of the meeting, we will also hear from government agency representatives who have requested to address the board tonight. And I see that we are joined by the borough president. So Manhattan Borough President, free to take the floor.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. It's great to see everyone here at Cb6. Just very briefly, a couple late-breaking items. The health department for the first time today announced the rate at which New Yorkers are getting the new bivalent COVID booster shot. And sorry to report that only 5% of eligible New Yorkers have received this new booster. So those of you who are outspoken on this, and I know Cb6 has been really great on the public health stuff for the last couple of years, please spread the word. Now is the time to get your COVID booster shot and your flu shot ahead of what we fear could be a winter wave. So please spread the word on that. Use the data we got today. Again, only 5% have been boosted so far. Secondly, I just want to alert folks that we continue to collect goods for the migrant families who are arriving to our city on a daily basis. And there's an urgent need for winter clothing. Many of the arrivals are coming with little more than light shirts and sandals in some cases. So we're collecting at both of our offices at 1 Center Street and on 125th Street. Please spread the word. We're really shifting to collect winter clothing for the asylum seekers. We've had overwhelming response so far. Thank you to all of you who have contributed. We're going to continue to do this work as hundreds more arrive every day. Next, just very quickly, late breaking news today, we announced our plan to tackle the challenge of e-commerce delivery in New York City. We're getting 2.5 million packages a day arriving. It is obstructing sidewalks. It's blocking streets and bike lanes and bus stops. All of you see it in your neighborhood. You know, it's a particular problem in CB6. So we put out a full plan today, which I think has been given to you in our remarks that I hope we have time to delve into further. Finally, I'll just mention we're continuing to monitor the situation with the open meetings law. The current emergency order for COVID is set to expire on October 22nd. Another emergency order related to monkeypox extends to the 26th. We are ready for one or both of those to expire and to support you as the new laws related to hybrid meeting requirements take into effect. So I'm going to pause there. I'll pass it back to you, Mr. Chair. See at least one question. Happy to take it if appropriate.
Absolutely. Thank you, Borough President. And also thank you for including us on the discussions on the e-commerce. It's great to have input on that. So we really appreciate that.
Excellent.
Yeah, we do have a question. Rich, please go ahead.
Yes, I'm going to steal some of my own thunder from the Housing Committee report and thank the Borough President for his leadership on the issue of public restrooms, since the bill that he has been advocating for is apparently coming to a vote tomorrow in committee in the council. So thank you for that.
Well, really excited. This is going to require that the city plan for one public restroom in every zip code. So no part of the city will be left behind. This is a public health crisis. It's an equity issue, and it impacts tourism and delivery workers and all of us. So I know that CB6 has been outspoken on this. I have a great partner in the council and Councilmember Rita Joseph. We're going to pass this bill, and then the important work begins. So thank you, Rich, for that comment and for your work on this issue.
Thank you. Are there any further questions for the Borough President from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none. Thank you so much, Borough President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great to see you here on CB6. Have a great meeting tonight.
Thank you. All right, we'll next move on to Senator Krueger. Senator.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving me this time. Very quickly, I so appreciate your putting our newsletters up so that everybody can take a look in advance and can always reach back out to me. I don't think there's anything unannounced other than I just want to remind everyone our senior resource fair is 3 days virtually as opposed to 1 day with 900 people showing up in the same place, because we decided that was still not a good plan, particularly for seniors this year. I continue to try to do my best on behalf of everyone. My district will change slightly in January, and I will lose some of Community Board 6, unfortunately, but we'll make sure to be introducing the new state senator who has 3 boroughs in her district. So she's going to need our support and our help to just learn all the issues from the Manhattan portion of the district that was mine, and I guess a piece of Brad Hoyleman also now going to Christian Gonzalez, assuming of course she wins in November. I shouldn't jump the gun. And I'm happy to take questions for as many as I can cover in 1 minute.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any questions for the Senator from the board or from the public?
Easy.
All right, seeing none. No, thank you so much for joining while on the go. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
You as well. All right, we'll now move on to Pat Hill from Councilmember Power's office. Pat, you there?
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good evening. I don't really have any much to add, but I did want to say, as it says in my report, things are moving along with the pilot dog run that I mentioned last month at New Wave Pier on the East River Esplanade. So I'll keep you all posted on that. And I also wanted to give a big shout out to Steve O and Molly Hollister, who have both been very helpful and instrumental in moving this process with the Parks Department along. And a thank you to everyone else who got involved and worked on this as well. So thank you all. We'll hopefully see it come to fruition next month. If there's any other questions on any of the other items that were in the report, please feel free to ask.
Awesome. Thank you, Pat. Are there any further questions for Councilmember Power's office? All right, not seeing any. Thank you so much, Pat.
Absolutely.
We'll now move on to Eric from District Attorney Bragg's office.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, Eric is not here today. My name is Ellie Silvestre. I am the Assistant Supervisor of Community Engagement within the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. I don't have anything else to add. I believe Eric sent over our report. I just want to make sure that we remain present. He's on vacation this week, well deserved. And if anyone has any questions for my office or anything that I can pass along to Eric, we're happy to, continue working together. Thank you
Awesome.
for having me
so
tonight.
much. Are there any questions for District Attorney Bragg's office from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for joining.
Of course, I'll be here for the remaining of the meeting.
Please give Eric our best while he's
Will
away.
do, for sure. Thank you.
We'll go over to Assemblymember Epstein's office. Joanna.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joanna Sanchez. I'm from the Assembly Member of the Epstein's office. Our updates from our office is that currently there is a limited waiver in effect for public service loan forgiveness. In addition to that, there is a senior affordable housing opportunity at North Fork Senior Apartments. And in addition to that, constituents can apply online or request a hard copy application. Additional information can be found in our newsletter, and I will submit my information below if anyone has any questions or concerns. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Joanna. Are there any further questions for Assemblymember Epstein's office from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Joanna.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have Evelyn from Comptroller Lander's office.
Yes, good evening. I did not submit a report and I'm also a little under the weather, but I'll do my best quickly. We spent the summer surveying NYCHA developments in order to obtain information that will be used to inform an audit of the agency. A lot of the information gathered, as we all know, is centers around issues with repairs and the timeliness of repairs, with sanitation issues and with safety concerns. That information will be used to investigate how funding is used for the services that are provided in NYCHA. We also are doing a lot of work on the climate front as part of our, focus on the climate agenda. We are making sure that our investments are mindful of those goals. We just issued over $1.3 billion in municipal bonds, and out of those, $400 million will go to support the creation of 3,000 units of affordable housing in New York City. We are also countering pushback from red states on, against the environmental, social governance bonds, ESG, and have also reached out to BlackRock, which is the largest investment firm in the world, and also in charge of billions of dollars of investments for New York City, asking them to clarify their position as they have been backtracking on their commitment to support environmentally sound investments. Again, my name is Evelyn Collado. My email is ecollad@comptroller.nyc.gov, and my number is 929-545-0262. And you can reach out anytime with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. Are there any further questions for the Comptroller's office from the board or from the public? All right, not seeing any. Thank you so much for joining, Evelyn, even though you're under the weather.
Thank you.
We hope you get better.
Okay.
Thank you. And yes, and for all, please continue to add your contact information to the chat so that we can follow up if necessary. Next, we'll move on to Alex from Assemblymember Court's office. Hi, Alex.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening. I don't have anything to, it's been a long day, anything to add to our report, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Appreciate it. And no worries, it's one of those weird weeks where we have one day off and we don't know which day it is. So thank you. Are there any further questions for Assemblymember Court's office from the board or from the public? All right. Seeing none, thank you so much, Alex. Appreciate it.
Take care.
We'll
I'll
next
be here.
we'll next move on to Sam Vasquez from Senator Hoylman's office.
Hi, folks. Submitted the report. One thing I would like to highlight is that yesterday we did a press conference introducing our bill, making New York, that would make New York a haven for trans youth and their families. We've seen the wave of over 300 proposed or enacted legislation across the country to target trans youth and their families. And so we are taking a proactive step here to make sure that trans youth across the country and here in New York are protected, and especially those in red states that are being targeted could come here and have gender affirming care and stay united with their families, as some other states are trying to separate families. So that's one of the big updates we've had. I'll let the if folks have questions on the rest of the report, I'm happy to take any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. Are there any questions for Senator Hoylman's office from the board or from the public? All right. Seeing none. Thank you so much, Sam. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll now move on to Sheila from Councilmember Rivera's office. Hi, Sheila.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see faces to very familiar names. My name is Sheila Rodriguez, and I'm the Deputy Chief of Staff for Councilwoman Carlina Rivera, and I'm also Director of Constituent Services. We submitted our report, I believe, earlier today or earlier this week, but I do want to report on two of the updates that we have. One is that we're hosting a toy drive of gently used toys or new toys for families living in temporary housing in Midtown, especially families that are seeking asylum. You can drop off the gently used or new toys at the Epiphany Library at 228 East 23rd Street from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. for the rest of the week. Or you can select an item from the wish list, which is posted on our report. And also another wonderful news is that we are having participatory budget is back. And this year, the council member is allocating $1 million in capital funding to projects voted on by residents of District 2. So we encourage members of Community Board 6 or residents of Community Board 6 to forward their ideas or suggestions to the district office. And there's a link also on the report that you can click on, but you can also send your suggestions or recommendations for ideas to District 2, Digit 2 at council.nyc.gov. And we look forward to seeing, your wonderful ideas. And that's all for me. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Sheila. Are there any further questions for Councilmember Rivera's office from the board or from the public? I see a hand in the public. Can we give the speaker permission to speak, please?
Yes. Gail Shargle should have permission to speak.
Hi, Sheila. This is Gail Shargell. I live on 30th Street. I have sent and spoken to Carlina and Katie numerous times in the last couple of years. Carlina has, I think, banned me from emailing anymore my photos of the garbage and issues in the neighborhood, which I've continuously done. And about 2 years ago, she did discuss that she was going to try to do something, but it has gotten increasingly worse and nothing has happened. And I would like to know why she won't address this issue and hasn't done anything to date. I sent pictures to the community board last week of what was the garbage. I do call 311 when I see that a commerce does not clean up, and I have been successful a few times, but a lot of it has nothing to do with that. It's the bottles everywhere. It's the ripped garbage. It's today I saw a dead rat. It's the feces I saw on Sunday on the edge of a building. And our neighborhood, and I walk the entire city, is one of the worst in the entire city. And it's disgusting. And I would like to know why she hasn't addressed this, because I and other people who live on our street, in our neighborhood, in the upper 20s and 30s, have seen this as a big problem. And she does not respond to us and has not responded to us. And we would like something done. And it's disgusting. And I clean my street. I walk around and pick garbage up myself, even if it's not in front of my house. But this is just increasingly horrible.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear of your experience, but I know that Katie, who's the Community Board 6 liaison, works very diligently, and is also the chief of staff and manages, or is the person who has oversight over the district's budget, and also advises the councilwoman on the larger city budget. And I know that through Katie advocacy, we have been able to allocate supplemental cleaning in Community Board 6 in different areas of the district. But I know that a lot of residents get frustrated when we say it's important to call 311, but it is the tool that we have to track the issues and to have accountability for the enforcing agency. So I will still encourage you to always report any quality of life complaints to 311 so that they're routed to the right enforcement agency. And please feel free to forward those 311 complaints to our office, and we'll do our best to follow up on the complaints made.
Great, thank you, Sheila. And thank you, Gail, for bringing that up. I know you sent the email to us last week and you're in touch with our board office. And we are following up with Department of Sanitation, and we'll make sure that we update you with progress on that. So thank you for that. All right, we'll now move on to Council Member Menon's office. I see Harry. Are you there? Hey, Harry.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. We did submit a report, and I don't want to go over it too much. A couple updates for the things that are on the reports. You see our universal child care rally happened today. It did. The five bills passed, 4 unanimously, and the other one with just 1 no vote. We're incredibly happy about this. It's not just a gender equity issue. It's a family issue. It's an economic issue. There are over 300,000 parents that have left the workforce due to childcare costing on average $21,000 for an infant and about $16,000 for the next age group. It's unacceptable, and we're going to be the first city with universal childcare, and we're very happy about it. Another update was for our sanitation. I don't know if it's mentioned there, but the sanitation announcement that we had includes that we now have 4 daily trash bin pickups a day. This is the most that it's ever been in our district. We're very happy about that. A few things that aren't on the report is we are getting sign-ons right now for an anti-idling bill to combat idling throughout our communities and our districts, making it easier for parking. It'll increase air quality, etc. And lastly, our office, and for a portion of the time, the councilwoman will be at St. Catherine's Park this Saturday from noon to 3 for a rescheduled Parks Department Family Day. We hope you all can join us, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Harry. Are there any questions for Councilmember Menon's office from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Harry. And if you could put your information in the chat, that'd be great. We'll now move on to Taylor from Representative Maloney's office. Taylor.
Hi. So I didn't submit a report. We haven't done too much different in the past month from the previous report submitted. Most of the work the Congresswoman's been doing this month has been related to trying to protect abortion rights, trying to electrify the postal fleet, and protect folks from overdraft fees. So those are the big three things this month. Also, so folks know, well, folks obviously know that we will be gone at the end of the year. But we are fully or as fully as possible operating through December 22nd. So anything you need from now till then, I definitely won't be leaving before then because I'm just going to go to school. So I will be there for anything you guys need until the holidays.
All right. Thank you so much, Taylor. Are there any further questions for Representative Maloney's office? All right, seeing none, but congratulations, Taylor, on this next chapter and going back to school. It's very exciting. Yeah. All right, and last but not least, we're welcoming Michael from Baruch College. Michael.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Bank. I'm the new Director of Government Community Affairs at Baruch with the City University of New York. I'm assuming the duties of Eric Lugo, who worked very closely with you guys for a number of years. It's my pleasure to be with you, and I thank the board, Mr. Perez, and the Cb6 team for the opportunity to introduce myself to you. At Baruch, we're committed to providing inclusive, transformational education, arts and science, business, and public and international affairs to students from New York and also around the world. We have a unique distinction in higher education. We provide access to those traditionally excluded from college while achieving outcomes far ahead of national averages. It's this concept of attainable excellence our president, David Wu, speaks about. The opportunity for transformational education for all that are willing to work hard for it. That's the hallmark of what we do. Equally strong is our commitment to vitality, safety, and livability of the community. Along with the important social role we play in the city, we're also one of the largest employers in the district, and we bring in tons of economic activity with our over 20,000 students every day. We're committed to being good neighbors. I look forward to working with Kyle, Jesus, and all of you to chart the next chapter in this community's recovery and progress. And thanks. I'm happy to take any questions, comments, or concerns. And I see Mr. Mintz.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, you already have your first question.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to welcome you. That you know, I live next door to Baruch. If I pounded hard enough on my wall, I would break into the side of your building. And I'm very happy to see the students back for the fall and the quality of attention that you all are paying to the new plaza, which is a nice amenity for the neighborhood.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Hope to see more of you. So thank you for coming.
Again, I'm right in the 17 Lex building. Fall Festival is going to unfortunately be canceled due to inclement weather tomorrow. But again, we'll be doing stuff on the plaza. Look forward to meeting you in the neighborhood, buddy.
All right. Are there any further questions for Michael? All right. Seeing none. And welcome to the Cb6 family.
Appreciate it. Look forward to meeting with you and Mr. Perez sometime soon.
Absolutely. All right. We'll now move on to the public section. Jesus, has anyone signed up to speak in the public session?
Yes, they have. We'll go on to our first speaker, Mr. Ronald S. Longaduc, an attorney representing the Tenants Association at 160 East 48th Street, who wishes to speak to the board on a matter that's actually on our agenda tonight, agenda item 9D, regarding the renewal of a liquor license application for the Seafire Grill. Mr. Longaduc, you have the floor for 3 minutes. You may begin your remarks now.
Thank you very much. My name is Ron Languedoc. I'm an attorney with Himmelstein, McConnell, Griven, and Joseph. As was stated, I'm here to speak in objection to the application by the Seafire Grill. The Seafire Grill has engaged in egregious, dishonest conduct and fraudulently obtaining an extension of its liquor license into the residential courtyard of the Buchanan Apartments, which is 160 East 48th Street. The proposed stipulation to the resolution should be changed to permanently enjoin commercial restaurant usage in the private interior residential courtyard of the Buchanan Apartments by the Seafire Grill. In May 2021, the Seafire Grill illegally started serving food and alcoholic drinks in the enclosed private courtyard of the Buchanan Apartments. This caused a tremendous uproar by the tenants as it has always been a private gated courtyard. The Buchanan Apartments, built in 1929, is a 280-unit apartment building. There were over 70 rent-regulated units, and the interior residential courtyard is a grandfathered amenity according to the New York State Division of Housing and Community Renewal. The Tenants Association and individual tenants immediately sent out numerous emails and letters to Buchanan Management, the Seafire Grill, and Cb6. There were numerous vehement complaints of noise, vermin, lack of privacy, intrusion, and breach of security. After, there were various complaints to the New York City Building Department, State Liquor Authority, and police that the Seafire Grill was operating illegally without a proper liquor license in the courtyard. The Seafire Grill temporarily ceased operations in the summer of 2021. The Seafire Grill then reopened in the summer of 2022 after having filed an alteration application, which should have been an extension application with notice and hearing. In the alteration application, they made the outlandish lie that, quote, there has been no negative feedback from the neighbors, unquote. Cb6 relied upon these material representations in granting the application for alteration of the Seafire Grill to allow serving food and alcoholic drinks in the courtyard. However, the Cb6 no objection to alteration clearly stated that if there is any different method of operation or changes, including changes of hours or operations or other misrepresentations, that this application should be denied by the SLA. During the Cb6 hearing on September 29th, 2022, several tenants provided strong arguments and proof of numerous complaints toward the Seafire Grill restaurant, including breach of security, intrusion into private space, using more than 20% of the space, operating on Mondays, operating beyond allowed hours, excessive noise, and vermin. The security breach issue is extremely serious, as guests of the Seafire Grill restaurant circumvent the doorman at the Buchanan and enter the private courtyard from a back entrance from the restaurant. From there, they can wander into the elevator banks of the Buchanan apartment without any security or stop them. I'm hearing a beep. Does that mean I'm
Yeah, that means
required
you're
to stop?
Ronald, but we do have a couple of other speakers on the same topic from the Tenants Association, so we'll.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Ron.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jesus.
Sorry. All right. Next on the list is Janet Maltby, representing the Tenants Association at 160 East 48th Street. She also wishes to speak on agenda item 9D regarding the renewal application for the Seafire Grill. Ms. Maltby, you have 3 minutes to make your remarks. You may begin your statement now. Ms. Maltby, are you able to?
She should be able to.
I'm just unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. All right. You have three
I have a
minutes to
dog
make
that
your
may bark, so I'm going to make this quick. And also, I believe you all have a copy of our diagram of the courtyard. Has that been distributed?
Yes, we have received it. The office, as well as board leadership, has received it.
Okay, great.
The chair has
Thank
received
you.
it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my name is Janet Maltby. I moved into the Buchanan with my parents in 1976 and currently live here with my 96-year-old mother and our pet dog. The deciding factor in choosing the building was its beautiful courtyard, an oasis in Midtown, a pleasant gathering place for all tenants, adults and children, their pets and guests. The new owners intruded on our right to this amenity by illegally converting it into a commercial space for eating and drinking and imposing unnecessarily harsh restrictions on tenants, pets, guests, and hours to make way for commercial restaurant use. The nature of the residential courtyard was entirely altered and it no longer served its original purpose. The courtyard diagram shows a renovated area that does not accommodate a separate commercial space distinct from tenant use. In fact, it causes a new concern, that of tenant security and safety. The ramp from the restaurant added after the renovations goes directly into the interior courtyard. Restaurant staff do not monitor guests as they eat and consume alcohol, and building staff cannot assume that responsibility. Any restaurant diner can easily enter the building from the courtyard to the Section 3 entrance unnoticed and gain access to any part of the building by elevator through the basement. They can then exit unseen through stairs that lead from upper floors directly to 3rd Avenue, 47th and 48th Streets. I live in Section 2, which is entirely unprotected, and I'm very concerned about my personal and apartment safety. During the restaurant's operating hours, I am reluctant to pass through the courtyard, enter a hallway or elevator with a person unknown to me. These safety and security concerns must not be discounted as they are real and serious. The Cb6 proposed stipulation opens the door for the owners to apply for a new certificate of occupancy that would forever convert a private residential space and unique amenity for all 600 plus tenants into a commercial space. Elderly tenants like my mother, otherwise homebound, can no longer enjoy walking around and relaxing quietly in the courtyard, scurrying waiters and tenant furniture squeezed into a small space, restaurant tables, umbrellas, and a serving area make walks hazardous. There is no reason for Cb6 to be implying in its stipulation that the landlord should seek to commence a proceeding before the Department of Buildings to convert the courtyard into commercial restaurant usage. This would be grossly unjust for the tenants. The Tenants Association would incur very costly legal fees and expenses to defend our community, our continued private use of the residential courtyard. Buchanan residents reside in Cb6. We work, go to school, shop, and vote here. We are involved in community activities, neighborhood associations, and volunteer work. Seafire Grill's owner, management, and lawyer were blatantly hostile and made a shocking threat to tenants to move out during the last community board meeting. Rent-regulated tenants, like myself and my mother, are protected by regulations set forth by the Division of Housing and Community Renewal, including our right to building amenities. The Seafire Grill knowingly, illegally, and arrogantly operated their restaurant in the Buchanan's resident courtyard and total regard to proper permit and licensure from the State Liquor Authority and Department of Buildings. I believe that false statements made in their alteration application, along with their continued bad faith conduct, are sufficient grounds to completely deny their application to renew their liquor license. At the very least, Cb6 will permanently rescind the alteration application of Seafire Grill for any commercial usage of the courtyard at 160 48th Street.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you.
All right. Next on the list is Louis Posner, who is a resident of 160 East 48th Street, who wishes to speak on, who also wishes to speak on agenda item 9D regarding the renewal application for the Seafire Grill.
I do not see Mr. Posner on.
Louis Posner, going once, going twice, before we move on. All right, I do not see Louis Posner is present tonight, so we will move on to the next speaker on the list. Cheryl Kazan, who is the president of Friends of Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza, who wishes to speak to the board about security at the plaza. Ms. Kazan, you have the floor for 3 minutes to make your remarks. You may begin.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Cheryl Kazan, president of Friends of Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza, and I'm also the president of the World Council of Peoples for the United Nations. We're an affiliated organization at the UN since 60 years, and I'm also a journalist internationally representing a Mexican media group. I say all that because I wear so many hats. I have the, shall we say, hearts and minds of many people globally who know our plaza, frequent it, and like us, have many concerns. What I would like to first say, I want to acknowledge Kyle and Kevin O'Keefe for being attentive to the needs of Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza. It's great to have friends and you and both of you and others. I just want to say that this year urgent repairs were made in the lighting issues as well as the restore the water access to clean the plaza and irrigate the garden. That was a tremendous asset. Cb6 was a governing force in the park's reconstruction, and more than 20 years later, a capital renovation will renovate and improve the plaza. I know you're all aware of that. We're hoping and waiting with bated breath, but hopefully they'll begin this year, coming year. We are working with Cb6 Parks Committee to update the borough needs for the renovation, which is back on track. But I'm really here, of course, as you said, Kyle, to speak about the safety and security issue, which concerns everyone. And as you know, we have requested, despite so many repeated requests for cameras, the plaza appears to be overlooked because the park does not reflect high crime statistics. And however, given the plaza's unique role as the gateway to the United Nations, which we call ourselves, which is true, and the designated area of public assembly for the protests, marches, cultural rallies, with a capacity of 8,000 people, which has happened many times in the past, 1.5 acres is clearly what we call a sitting duck. We all know the level of violence is rising. You know, in Rockefeller Center, in that area zip code, they have 2,000 or over 2,000 cameras, which of course it's a high tourist attraction area, but that just proves that we have nothing and we should not be overlooked. I mean, the outer boroughs, of course, and crime rates, we understand the need, but we must share in that safety issue. The fact remains that we don't fit into the NYPD high crime rate, as I said, but I stand before you today to say it cannot be ignored any longer. We must understand that a quality of life is to be enjoyed by all. Some time ago, I won't say who, called my request for quality of life issues to be addressed. I was called an elitist. I did laugh, but it's not funny, because if we don't look at this as something to be enjoyed by all, then we are simply missing the opportunity to improve life for our very diverse area. So I thank you again. We have homeless shelters and people in open space. We need to address it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you. Next on the list is Lin Fei Yang, who is the Secretary of Friends of Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza, and who wishes to speak about security also at Dag Hammarskjöld.
Hello, everyone. I also want to just echo what Cheryl was saying.
Hi, Lin Fei. They're having some issues with her audio. It's echoing quite a bit.
Yeah, hold on just a minute. Okay, what about now?
Better.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to echo real quick what our president Cheryl was saying. We are the largest open space, the largest public area in East Midtown. And the issue of security cameras is part of our plan to work with all stakeholders in the East Midtown area to have de-escalation efforts in terms of public security be addressed through a mutually beneficial way forward. And I'm sure that with the efforts of Kyle and the rest of the board, we can hopefully really find a way forward, as we have done previously on many issues regarding the plaza, for this urgent security issue with installing cameras at Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And our final speaker of the night is Christina Fritz, a resident of Manhattan Community District 6, who wishes to speak to the board about the Humane Society on 59th Street. Ms. Fritz, you have 3 minutes to make your remarks. You have the floor starting now.
Okay, hi. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I've lived on East 54th Street and 2nd Avenue for about 10 years. And my cat had been a patient at the Humane Society of New York. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I had tried to ask to adopt a cat, and they were closed due to the pandemic, of course. And then 3 years later, they're still saying they're closed due to COVID. I know that you've looked into this in the past, because I had spoken to one of the activists that were protesting in front of the Humane Society. And I was just wanted to basically express my concern that, these animals are still in those cages, and it's been almost 3 years, and they're not doing adoptions, and they don't talk about doing adoptions. I've spoken with Sandra DeFeo, who's in charge at the Humane Society, and she tells me to fill out an application, and I fill out an application and nothing gets done. No one ever contacts me. No one gets back to me. I've even offered to volunteer, as I live so close to the Humane Society, And they said they don't need any volunteers. They have enough. It's just kind of peculiar. They won't allow anyone into the building to see the animals, to adopt them. I passed by there. I don't see any animals coming in or out, being walked. I'm concerned what's going on in there.
All right, thank you very much.
Has anyone looked into this, and do they have any answers as to what might be happening with?
We have looked into it, and we are working with the Department of Health and the Mayor's office on this matter. That's all we can say at this point. But once we know more, we will inform anyone who has written to our office about this particular concern.
Is there anything else I can do as a community member to help or to assist in this situation?
At this time, no. Sometimes the process can take a little time working within the gears and all the many offices of the city government, but we are working on it, and we will keep those who are concerned about this informed. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That concludes our speakers list tonight.
All right, thank you, Jesus. So we'll move to the adoption of the previous meeting school board minutes. The minutes from the September 14th full board meeting was distributed to board members ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we will adopt the minutes as drafted. So board members, if you object to adopting the minutes, please raise your hand through Zoom. All right, seeing no objections, the minutes from the September 14th full board meeting are adopted, and they will soon be available on the Cb6 website. All right, we'll now move into the reports. For the sake of time, I just have a quick item of business that the board president already shared, but just to reiterate, the emergency orders do go through October 22nd and 26th to remain virtual. So please keep that in mind. The board office has been prepared and has been preparing for several months in the case of in-person meetings or hybrid meetings. So as we look towards November, please keep that in mind as you prepare your schedules and prepare for your community board meetings. And of course, myself and the board office will update you as we hear about these. And with that, I'll conclude my report. Jesus, we'll now hear from District Manager Jesus Perez.
Thank you, Kyle. In the interest of time, I'll be super brief. I just wanted to let you know, board members, that I'll be sending along an email in a matter of seconds to all of you about 2 events that you may be interested in. One of them is an information session for a land use matter that I'm sure Sandy and the Land Use Committee will tell you more about over the coming months. But the Department of City Planning is doing something different where they're trying to do a lot more engagement on the front end rather than after something has been released to the public. So I will send you that information. I highly recommend that you sign up for this information session because it will eventually come to full board. Even if you're not on the Land Use Committee, it always helps to study up on these things well in advance of the meetings. So look for that email very soon. Additionally, there is an event on open data that the Civic Engagement Commission is hosting in coordination with the New York City Office of Technology and Innovation, which, if you haven't heard, is the new name for Do It. They are going to be teaching folks how to use the Open Data Portal, and the workshop will cover what the Open Data Portal is, how to find specific data sets, how to filter a data set, how to visualize data in charts and graphs, and tools and applications that you can use with open data. So especially for new members, if you're not, or even older members, if you're not familiar with open data or have never used it, I encourage you to sign up. But I'll send this email in a matter of seconds, and that concludes my report tonight. Thank you. I see a hand.
Yep, Marty, go ahead.
What's the timeline on adopting the new city council map? It seems that the northern, my part of the district, which we were almost put into Queens, but now we're being moved from 5 into 4.
Yes, so the commission adopted the new maps and has sent the map to the city council. They have some time to consider it, and then they will either reject it or they will accept it as is. If they reject it, then it will go to another round of public hearings. If they accept it, well, then it will take effect. I need to double check on the districting commission website. There is a.
I can answer the question.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, Letty, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm having a little trouble doing this today. So, Marty, what happened with the district lines is that the boundary now for boards 4 and 5, the dividing line is 57th Street. So that north of, from the dividing line, north of the dividing line on 57th Street is in District 5, and south of the dividing line and the south side of 57th Street is in District 4.
Oh, so the people
Everybody
across the
stays in
street are in 5 and I'm in 4 because
yes.
it runs down the middle of the block.
Yes.
Okay.
And in answer to the process, the city council has 3 weeks at this point to review the maps that were sent to them and either accept them or send them back with suggestions. At that point, what the districting commission will do is they will take a look at it, and if they need to have another round of public hearings, they will. But that's the point at which the district commission will vote on the maps. And their deadline is December 7th because they have to get things ready for 2023, the election. The district lines will take effect in January of 2024. That's why the city council will be running again in 2023 to take office in 2024. It's a 2-year term this time around, and they were aware of that.
Thanks so much. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Letty.
Any other questions for me? I see
No.
none. All right. Thank you.
Jesus, can I proceed?
Yes, you may.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Thompson, first vice chair of the board. It is now time for Cb6 Officer Elections as I wave my American flag. Members, please remember that the state law requires that your camera be on if you wish to vote in this election. I know that as of about a minute ago, there were maybe 4 or 5 people whose cameras were not turned on. So I ask you to please turn your camera on now. It must have you on there and your name. If you are not on, again, you cannot vote. Larry Shire, Chair of the Elections Committee, will now moderate this segment of the meeting. Take it away, Larry.
Thank you, Mark. The Cb6 Elections Committee met on July 23rd and again on August 31st, 2022 via teleconference. Nominations were received, and I, as the chair of the Elections Committee, communicated with all candidates and confirmed their desire to hold office. At the September full board meeting, a member of the board offered an additional nominee from the floor, and the nominee immediately accepted the nomination. So where we are now, the nominees are as follows. For chair, Kyle Athaide and Kevin O'Keefe. First vice chair, Mark Thompson. Second vice chair, Sandra Sherrod. Treasurer, Adam Hartke. Assistant treasurer, B. Disman. Secretary, Stephen O. Assistant secretary, Maura Wong. The only contested race we have this year is the one for the chair of the board. The candidates for chair have elected to avail themselves of their opportunity to address the board as permitted by the Cb6 bylaws. Each candidate for chair shall make a statement not to exceed 3 minutes. Once 3 minutes have elapsed, A chime will sound to indicate that the time is up and that the candidate should conclude his statement. I ask the candidates to please be respectful of the board's time and this process by making sure not to go over time and or stopping as soon as they hear the chime. And of course, being respectful to each other. The candidates have agreed in advance to their speaking order. First, Kyle Athide, and second, Kevin O'Keefe. Kyle Athide, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. So this board first entrusted me with its leadership during one of the most challenging times in our city's history. Under my leadership, we have worked together to make our way through the pandemic, establish ourselves as a think tank, create a culture of inclusion and diversity of thought, proactively promote bold ideas, and achieved tangible results. Tonight, I ask for your vote one last time so that we may continue to build on these successes. Over the past 2 years, we have created 2 new committees, partnered with our hospitals, opened public spaces, supported the homeless, collaborated with other community boards to amplify issues, created virtual programs, and were the first public body to advocate for changes to the open meetings law. We have also utilized the media to promote our work and to inform the public. Our collective power has achieved actual results and greater civic engagement, which is demonstrated by the higher levels of public participation and increased number of applications to join our board. Our full board meetings are more efficient by working with our electeds to create a question and answer session, which has allowed board members and the public to ask our officials directly about the issues affecting us. This has also allowed us to cut nearly an hour and a half from our full board meeting or to repurpose it to discuss board business. We have also established a leadership pipeline so that we always have fresh perspectives and leaders. Nearly all of my appointments have been individuals who never previously served in a leadership role. And our executive committee has become an open door strategy session and has encouraged real collaboration within and across committees. Committee chairs now meet with the executive leadership team to review their past year's agendas and complete a work plan for the upcoming year. We also have revamped our welcoming orientation to ensure that new members feel equipped to jump into board business immediately. Looking forward, we will build on all these successes to support bolder and more innovative ideas. Our vision will focus on our waterfront and open spaces. We will prioritize transforming the Brookdale and Solo sites so that there are plans reflective of post-pandemic needs. We will also rethink how the FDR and its surrounding areas can be adapted in unique ways to fit the needs of our district. We will examine the homeless shelter system while also supporting renters within the district. We will continue to support our students, teachers, and schools, and will ensure that we continue to maintain positive relationships with our hospitals and police precincts to keep our district healthy and safe. Also, as we make our way out of the pandemic, we will find ways for our board to reconnect with each other in person that is responsible, fun, and respectful of those still dealing with real health risks. I've often compared being chair of the board to being the conductor of an orchestra. The conductor can handle multiple issues, understands details and nuance, empowers the individual and gets the best out of each section and brings everyone together. So tonight I place my candidacy in your hands and ask for the opportunity to lead one final movement for the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Kevin O'Keefe, the floor is all yours. Kevin, you may unmute yourself now.
Thank you. Thanks, Larry. Good morning. I should say good evening all. As noted in a statement recently shared with each board member, inclusivity has been a driving force in my pursuits as a community and business leader. Also as a husband and father. In August, my wife and I celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary. Kathy and I have lived in the district the entire time. We now live in Stuytown with our 3 school-aged children. I became a Cb6 member because I shared my wife and children's desire, much like Cheryl stated in public session, to improve community quality of life for all. Within 6 months of becoming a Cb6 member, I drafted my first resolution to restore green space, including a garden, on the Morgan Library property. The resolution passed and became a stepping stone to a bigger goal, opening the space for all. This summer, that green space opened to the public for the first time in 116 years. I've spent a lot of time building relationships through the district, with neighborhood and school associations, elected officials, advocates, precincts, and beyond. These interconnections have allowed me to uniquely understand and navigate a diverse cross-section of our community, and in turn, deliver stronger results. With this deep community knowledge, I will bring to the board chair post a commitment to extend true ownership to other members, including allowing them to engage with the media, providing them media training if and as necessary. In addition, I want members to be afforded public credit for their ideas and/or execution. Public communication will be placed within a committee's scope. We need to better amplify our community voice. As Environment and Parks Committee Chair, I've always encouraged engagement with this wide community. Collaboration is key. In 2020, then Cb6 Chair Molly Hollister supported my efforts to open the St. Martin Park Garden that had locked out the general public for decades. Chair Hollister and I listened when a PS 116 parent, Erica Rand Silverman, inquired about the public having access to the space. We got the space open. The community was thrilled and continues their enthusiasm for improvement of parks. In addition to broader collaboration, we need to focus on more efficiency. In business, I've been known for being hyper-focused on results and efficiency. I will bring the same approach to the board chair position. Some of the needs are basic. For example, at full board, more focused on actual progress, results, and next steps, and improved budget process direction to all committees. And so full support of our newest members. New members are now limited to 8 consecutive years of board service, and we need to provide leadership opportunities faster. I will advocate for a return to a previous bylaw that the position of Cb6 chair can't be held for more than 2 consecutive one-year terms. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Do any other candidates wish to make a statement before we proceed to vote? I see none, so let's proceed to vote. Cb6 members, please remember that state law requires that your camera be on if you wish to be voting in this election. So if your camera's not on, please don't submit a ballot. As you check that your camera is on, I will ask the Cb6 office to put the link to the officer ballot in the chat. So now please check your chats, and you should click on the link and the ballot will come up. This ballot is very similar to the one you are accustomed to using for voting on resolutions. All you need to do is click on the link to open the ballot, select your name from the drop-down list, and then select for each of the board officer positions a candidate or that you're abstaining. I will announce the final vote counts once the vote is concluded. If any part of our voting procedure is unclear, please raise your hand through Zoom and we will address your question. Okay, I see no hands, no questions. That's excellent. So the meeting will now stand at ease for a few minutes while you submit your votes and we have a chance to receive them. Thank you.
I'm having some difficulty finding the ballot.
We can post a link to the ballot again in the chat. You should be able to find a link to the ballot in the chat now.
Maybe email it to him. He always has issues.
Let me know if you continue to have issues, Lou.
Is it just quiet or am I not hearing something?
It's quiet at the moment.
Thank you.
Actually, Raj Nayar had offered to do a musical interlude and sing to us, but apparently his voice is so bad that it was overruled.
Then just do a solo.
What, it must be
Right.
someone's birthday. We could sing happy birthday.
That sounds good. Go for it, Raj.
It is Matt Bondi's 13-year-old daughter's birthday. She's a teenager. How's that?
Oh.
Oh, 13.
Or we can
My
honor
nephew
Rick
was 12
Eggers. It was his birthday last week.
My nephew was
Yes,
12
I know. I
yesterday.
thought of it, Marty. I actually thought of him and, the memorial we did for him. So it brought back a lot of thoughts of his presence on the board and as a friend.
Do you want to see my bunny?
Yeah.
Yes,
Bunnies
please,
and
yes.
bunnies and puppy time. Raj, get Jimmy out. Let's. Oh, what's his or her name?
He's sleeping.
Aisha, what's his or her name?
Bubbles.
Bubbles.
Bubbles, how original.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see, where's Bubbles? Oh, oh, sweet. Thank you.
How about me? She's probably asleep already, right?
Yeah, she's asleep. She made a cameo earlier.
Hannah, don't forget to submit your vote, or your ballot, excuse me. You haven't submitted your ballot yet.
Susan Steinberg, where's your cat?
I have two of them. Do you want the fat one or the skinny one?
The one that always appears on Cb6, the one that wants to push your computer.
Whichever one's closest that doesn't run away.
I vote for Thimble.
This is Ping.
Oh,
Hey.
Ping. He was deep in sleep. He's not very happy.
One eye's like her.
Person, but I say bring back Bubbles.
Oh.
I almost got a hernia picking this cat up.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Good, folks.
What's this cat weigh?
Pipe down, pipe down. Voting has concluded. And so I now can announce the results as follows. There were 43 members cast votes. And for chair, for Kyle Athide, 31. For Kevin O'Keefe, 10. And 2 abstained. For first vice chair, for Mark Thompson, 40. 3 abstained. Second vice chair, for Sandra Sherrod, 40 and 3 abstained. Treasurer, for Adam Hartke, 42, 1 abstained. Assistant treasurer, For B. Disman, 42, 1 abstained. Secretary, for Stephen O., 42, and 1 abstained. Assistant Secretary, for Maura Wong, 42, and 1 abstained. And that is the results of those are the results of the election. Congratulations to all of our new and returning officers. Kyle, back to you.
Thank you, Larry, and thank you for your chairship and for the Elections Committee's work this past season, as well as to all of the candidates and the new executive leadership team. We have now arrived at our committee reports and resolutions. Oh, sorry, I see a hand up from Kevin. Kevin, go ahead.
Yes. Hey, Kyle, I just want to say congratulations and wishing you all the best in the next year. Let's have a great CB6 year, everyone.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're
Agreed.
welcome.
All right, we have now arrived at our committee reports and resolutions. A reminder that the same rules stated at the beginning of the meeting apply. Members of the public, please note that during this session of the meeting, we only recognize questions from members of the board. The CB6 staff will post a link to the digital ballot in the chat. Please click on the link to open this ballot, select your name from the drop-down list, and select your vote on each resolution as it is presented. Do not hit submit until later in the evening after the final resolution has been presented. At the end of the meeting, please submit after you've indicated all your votes on your ballot. You will not be able to submit the ballot unless you vote on every resolution. If you plan on abstaining, please select abstain. Final vote counts will be announced after the second roll call. If any part of our voting procedure is unclear, please raise your hand through Zoom and we will address your question. All right. So the board office has submitted the link into the chat. Sorry for a night of digital ballots. All right, and we will start with the first committee, the Bylaws Committee B.
Thank you, Carl. And again, congratulations to everyone for a very successful year. So as far as the Bylaws Committee, we had solicited comments from members of the board. A number of questions were and proposals were given. The Bylaws Committee has gone through everyone's suggestions, in addition to doing some research as to what's happening in other boards around the city. We're really focused, after looking at the boards around the city, we're more focused on the Manhattan boards, since there seems to be some consistency and some ground rules that everyone is following. We have done a complete review of the bylaws. We have parked a number of issues. At our last meeting, we went back, which is very timely, to look at the election of officers to see if we should provide any additional ground rules in the bylaws during an election period of time. We intend to spend our next meeting and maybe the one afterwards going to the areas that we've parked, and then we'll be presenting the revisions to the board. So I think it's been arduous. People had comments, they're all diverse, but we're trying to make sure we deliberately look at them, and those that have listened in can see the seriousness that all the committee members have made. So thank you, Carl.
All right, thank you very much, B. Are there any questions from the board? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, B. All right, we'll now move on to housing and homelessness. Rich?
Yes, thank you. We last month had a substantive meeting with two solid topics on the agenda. We had a public conversation about the refugee arrivals and their impact on the city, and the way they are being accommodated in temporary shelters, including the one at the Hotel Marcel, right across from my apartment. It was a very, I would say, very positive and productive conversation involving around 50 members of the public, along with the committee members. So thank you to everyone who participated in that. And We also went through our budget requests and had a substantive conversation and made some revisions this year. So thank you to the committee members for that as well. In our next meeting, which is next week, we will be talking about legislative updates on the issues that we've been covering and our plans for the rest of the community board year. The following meeting in November, we are likely to have a presentation from the Public Restrooms Working Group. That is the Cross CB working group from across Manhattan. They are organizing a tour of community boards, and I think they'll be able to get to us in November. I'm a little behind on some board things because I had COVID and just got better 3 days ago, but I'm back in action and will be catching up on my emails in the next few days. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Rich, and wishing you the best as you recover. Glad to see you're doing better. We do have a couple of questions from community board members. So Anne, saw your hand up first.
Yeah, actually, it's actually a question for B. And I'm actually wondering if there are any interim work products that any other board members can look at.
B, do you want to answer that?
I need to come back to answer. The answer is everything's in draft mode. We need to go through that. There's nothing that it's interim that we're at this point going to be presenting. Thanks, Anne, for asking.
All right, thank you, B. Sandy, go ahead.
I actually also had a question for B, but didn't get my hand up in time.
Okay.
I'm wondering how the committee felt about that idea of having 2-year terms for all chairs, for every for committees as well as the board. Has that been discussed?
It has been discussed. We're still in the middle of the discussion. At this point, I don't want to talk about the conclusion since there are a number of issues that we're looking at. But if you look at the pattern that exists around the city, it tends to be very similar to what we're doing. But we are not finished with our discussion, Sandy.
By what we're doing, you mean longer terms or?
Longer terms and longer terms for the chair. Some have no limits at all for the chair. So there's a variety. There is really no standard that people seem to be doing, but we've discussed all sides of the issue, what makes sense, and there's pros and cons both ways.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for those questions. And again, I'll encourage everyone to come to the Bylaws Committee because B does lead some great conversations and discussions on this. Any further questions for Rich and housing and homelessness? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the next committee. Sandy, land use and waterfront.
Okay, we have next month, we have a presentation on the City of Yes, which is a new proposal by the planning department to make some of the zoning actions move through the city a bit more positively. And so George James is going to give us a presentation on that. It's still very much in a planning stage, but he will let us know what's coming up. And it's exciting to see the proposal from Councilmember Powers regarding noise. It certainly is a big issue in our district, and it certainly has to do with land use. So I think that's something we'll also try to take up. Another thing, we have been assigned a planning fellow, which is a great resource for our committee. And they have chosen to work with Cb6, and they're going to work with Majed from our committee. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sandy. Are there any questions from the board for Sandy and land use? All right. Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll move on to transportation. Brian.
Thank you, everyone. A first resolution we're presenting tonight is supporting the co-naming of 29th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue as Frank Pesci Way. So the person in question who we are being asked to honor with the co-naming is an actor who had been in actually a fair number of very big movies as as a small parts actor, but was actually really well known for doing that. On top of that, he had been in a movie locally about the street in the district, and he'd been a resident of that street, that particular street, for many years. The building that he grew up on in the block, I believe, no longer exists there. He died a couple of years ago, and his family recently approached us looking for this endorsement as they are submitting this to the city for their approval as well. We'd heard a couple of these co-namings in the first wave of ones that are coming back now that we're considering them again. This one was approved by the committee unanimously on the night that it was voted for last month. So I'm presenting it to you. Does anybody have any questions? Adam Hartke?
Adam, you're on mute. Yeah.
Call to question.
Second.
All right. So everybody, please go back to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 4A. And do not hit submit.
In the meantime, I will explain Resolution 4B. We had a request from Metro Community Health Centers for ambulette parking at the address of 335 East 24th Street. This is part of the same building complex of the NYU building at 345 East 24th Street, with an additional entrance on East 25th Street. After some inquiry from the committee decided to support this application at the site which it was requested. There is an exit to the building there, which the operator prefers in which to do the loading from. It is on a dead-end cul-de-sac by East Midtown Plaza. We heard no community complaints or comments about it. I will take questions from the floor. Rich Mintz, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just want to ask to make sure I understand the location, because that location appears to currently be signed for Veterans Administration parking. Would that be removed and replaced with ambulette parking?
That was not detailed to us from DOT.
Okay. I mean, I don't object.
The request that they made was essentially at that site, at the cul-de-sac by the exit. Majed, you have the floor.
Yeah, just to clarify, this is not to replace the Veterans Affairs allocated parking, but rather to add where there's a curb cut for, for accessible.
Oh, I see.
entry.
So it
Yeah.
would be making that curb cut ambulette parking.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I see Adam Hartke has his hand raised.
Call to question.
Second.
All right, thank you. Everybody,
Wait,
please.
wait. I'm sorry. I was not quick enough to get my hand up, but
And sorry, the call to question was already seconded, so we're gonna proceed to the vote. So everyone, please return back to your digital ballot for this resolution and mark your vote for 4B. And do not hit submit.
I'm still having trouble getting the ballot up.
So for those of you who are not using the digital ballot, we'll ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call if the board office is unable to help you. Lou.
Thank you.
The board office just put the digital ballot for tonight in the chat again.
So while everyone's voting, I'll give a really quick report. One thing I wanted to mention is that we attended a presentation or panel with the borough president last week about the e-commerce proposals that he has. There was a lot of feedback from boards all over Manhattan, sort of in concordance with the ideas that were presented to us. And the stuff that the borough president is advocating for. We will continue to talk with the borough president's office about evolving those plans and see whatever we can do to help any concrete proposals come through DOT or any other agencies. I'm talking currently with several board members about this at the same time, including ideas that are in there. The second thing I wanted to mention, this is slightly outside of our district, but tonight DOT is presenting to Community Board 8 a redo of 3rd Avenue north of 60th Street that is going to include protected bike lane and bus lane treatment, sort of like the treatments that they've done in our district on 1st and 2nd Avenues. This is not quite what was recommended by the study that was done by Sam Schwartz Consulting 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago at this point. We're going to continue talking with DOT to see what we might be able to get in our district and how soon we might be able to get it. Right now, I can't confirm anything. I am somewhat familiar with DOT's thinking, though, and that they may want to just extend the same kind of plan southward into our district at some point in time. But when we talked about the Sam Schwartz Consulting survey, there was enthusiasm on our board for something with a little bit more oomph in it, and particularly in a part of the district where speeding is a problem. So we're going to be looking at elements of what DOT has proposed for tonight and try to see what we can get for what we need in our district later on. And I do wish them success with that, because if that treatment is successful and if DOT has capacity, maybe they'll install something in our district sooner rather than later. And that's all I have. Thank you. Anybody have any questions for me?
All right, not seeing any. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, next up, we have a resolution that came out of the executive committee from last month. This regarding the scheduling of Manhattan Community Board 6 meetings and some guidance on that. This was rooted in some feedback that we received from board members. And to actually give some background on this, I'm going to turn it over to Majed, because this was a resolution that was put together by all of the new members of this board, which is very exciting. So Majed.
Thanks, Kyle. So yeah, as mentioned, this was a group effort, and I'm speaking on behalf of the group, Gabe, Aisha, and everybody else. And the objective really was just to provide some guidance on how to schedule our meetings, whether boards or subcommittees, in times where there are conflicts with religious and cultural holidays. Now, it's worth noting that we were not trying to be comprehensive and capture every single holiday that's celebrated. We are a big district with a lot of diversity, but we tried to set some guidance. And we looked at Department of Education and their calendar, but eventually, and a couple of places, but end up referencing the New York City Office of Payroll Administration, OPA, which have a somewhat obviously they're an authority that could be referenced. Therefore, we're proposing 8 dates on which the committees would not schedule meetings, and the suggestion is that whenever there's conflict, we would schedule if the event is on 2 days where there's maybe it's from sundown until the next day, neither day would be considered for scheduling meetings. And since those holidays are known well in advance, we're proposing in this resolution that scheduling conflicts are known months in advance. Therefore, meetings will be rescheduled, and the new date will be publicized at least 2 weeks in advance of those meetings, which are being canceled.
All right, thank you, Majed. Are there any questions on this? Any motions? B?
Want to call the question?
Claire?
Second.
All right, thank you. Everybody, please go back to your digital ballots and mark your vote for 5A and do not hit submit. Those of you who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. And while people are doing that, just want to commend all of the new board members for putting together a resolution. This was their first resolution that they worked on, and they went through several stages of that. So I just wanted to commend them for their initiative, their drive, and for putting together a resolution, which we all know is not an easy thing. Anne, yeah, I see your hand up. You're on mute.
Yeah, I switched from phone to computer, so I no longer have the ballot, the chat with the ballot link. So somebody could pop that in again. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
The office can do that.
All right, so we'll move on. Seeing no further questions to Budget and Governmental Affairs, Reshma.
Hi, thank you, Kyle. I don't think you saw my hand up, but I wanted to just say thank you to the new board members for that resolution on the holidays, because ever since I joined CB6, I've always missed Diwali parties because it was always a meeting schedule. So I look forward to having that as one of the holidays. So as everyone knows, we've been talking about this for several months. We've been going through our community needs assessment and budget request. And thank you to all the committee chairs for all your feedback, especially Rich from Housing and Homelessness. You really, the way you formatted stuff is something that I want to use going forward. And to Kevin for working over the weekend to help get all the parks requests because there's so many of those, and Sandy, who even today we had a lot of back and forth. So I really appreciate everyone's help and support in this. And going forward, I think you're going to hear from me soon because I want to start the process for next year earlier and have it much more structured. So thank you all. And then, our resolution basically lays out the Airtable that you guys have all seen. And if anyone has any requests or changes or comments, please let me know.
All right, thank you, Reshma. Sandy, I see your hand up. Oh, you're on mute, Sandy.
Yes, as I said, Mr. Zoom is great.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed, we had asked that there's a note about continued support for repairing the fountains at Glick Park. And we had specifically asked that that be changed to provide water service to the park instead of repairing the fountains. And I believe it was before the summer, so it may have kind of gone the way of, summer holidays.
Okay,
But
I apologize because I did not see that.
Yeah, I think it would be great if we could include that.
Stand up.
Yeah, let's we'll fix that edit.
Yeah, we can change that.
Okay, any further questions, comments?
Call
Motion?
the question.
All right, called to question by Letty. Is that seconded by anyone?
Second.
Was that Ann?
Yep.
All right, seconded by Ann. Thank you, Ann. Everybody, please go back to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 6A, and do not hit submit yet. Again, those of you who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. Okay, and any further reports, Reshma?
No, I will be in touch with the committee chairs because the community needs statement, which is the written request that we put together, which is a much larger document, is due on October 31st. And everyone has seen a draft of it, and we're going to have to just complete that. And so I may have more questions and need more input.
Absolutely. And just want to thank you, Reshma, for all of your leadership on this. This has been wonderful and obviously a big year. So thank you to you and the rest of the committee and to all of the committee chairs for putting together this budget priorities list. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to youth and education.
Thank you, Kyle. For logistical reasons, given the last week of September, the committee did not meet in September. We will meet in October, and we'll be discussing school buses, both the quality of the service and the safety of the service, an issue raised recently by Councilmember Powers and before him by now Transportation Head Rodriguez. So we look forward to having a good discussion at our meeting. Thank you.
All right, we have a question from Rich. Rich, go ahead.
I've noticed crossing guards are back on 3rd Avenue near PS 116. Is that because of us?
I'll always take credit for things. As a friend of mine in politics said, you could get blamed for the rain. You could take credit for the sunshine. You get blamed for the rain. So this is sunshine. I'll take a little credit for that one. Thanks.
And I will say it is because of John. So,
excellent.
Yeah, thank you, John, you and the committee for your dogged perseverance of that.
Passed a resolution on it.
Yeah. All right. Any further questions or comments for John in youth and education? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to public safety. Matt?
Thanks, Kyle. So we have one resolution tonight calling for the state legislature to bring back legislation for consideration on ending qualified immunity in the state of New York. I'd like to thank Stu Desser for taking the lead on this. Marty, I see your hand up.
Yeah, it's very well developed. There's a lot of good points. What it doesn't do is describe qualified immunity. Probably in the third or fourth, whereas as you're building it, you should have an actual definition of what qualified immunity is. It says what it, its effect, but it doesn't say what it is.
Yeah, that's fair. I think we can make a revision there.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
All right. Any further questions or comments on this resolution?
Is there a reason that we cannot lay this over until the amendment has been added to the draft resolution and then consider it again in November?
Well, I think it's just an edit that doesn't change the meaning of the resolution.
Right.
So I think we should, it's similar to a spelling mistake or something like that. We'll just add the definition of it.
But the language of the amendment should be reviewed by the board prior to giving approval, because that is rather substantive, and the board members may have comment.
I can pull up the resolution right now.
Yeah, Majed, do you have a hand up?
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there a definition that the committee has that they can share with us, if that's what they would use in the amendment?
Yeah, let's just edit this right now then. We'll get the legal definition of it included so that there's no issues of pushing this back. Yeah, Matt, did you want to say something?
I see a bunch of hands up. Are they? So actually, I would call on Stu to chime in if he has a legal definition.
Stu, are you there? There you are, Stuart.
Well, I've been warned to stay out of the weeds. So this is not as easy as you might think. Essentially, I don't know that I can put it into text right now. Essentially, law has to be, quote, clearly established before an officer can be sued for violating your rights. That sounds simple, but the way qualified immunity works is there has to have been a prior case almost exactly on point with the same circumstances and the same violation before you can sue an officer. So when the resolution says that it's you almost never have a prior case that's exactly on point, that's the problem. And it makes the presumption, in other words, that a police officer can't simply infer, make a very obvious inference from what we know the Constitution says. So, for instance, if we know for decades that that excessive force is a constitutional violation, using more force than you need to affect a legal purpose. So, for instance, if a person surrenders to police, that person doesn't have a weapon, is no threat to the police, is not trying to get away, then it should be obvious that sicking a dog on the person and mauling his arm is excessive force. But the way qualified immunity works is it's not obvious until there's a prior case that's very, very much the same.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Sorry,
The
that,
language, so the language that I'm finding on this from the law is that we can include this as a clause, is the doctrine of qualified immunity protects state and local officials, including law enforcement officers, from individual liability unless the official violated a clearly established constitutional right.
That's
clear,
perfect.
right, yes.
All right, so
That's
can we
fine.
add that in? Marty, which whereas did you want it in? Was it the fourth, I believe you said?
Yes.
All right, so can we make a new fourth whereas, please?
So you're saying to delete this whereas and then just add the new language?
I
Or
think
to add
there's
another clause?
No,
add a new whereas, right?
And a new whereas after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it would be the fifth actually then.
Okay, yeah. So we'll say whereas the doctrine of qualified immunity.
Wait, sorry.
Protects.
Still think we'd be on firmer ground as a matter of resolution if we could see the text. Not because I object to it, but because it ought to be clearly and laid out and presented to the board at the November meeting, which I think would put us on safer ground on the substance of this matter.
So Lou, why don't you make a motion to carry it over?
Can we just finish adding this whereas first, and then we'll do that. So
There's several board members out of order.
yeah. So let's do the doctrine of qualified immunity protects state and local officials, comma, including law enforcement officers, comma, from individual liability unless the official violated a clearly established constitutional right.
Not necessarily constitutional.
A clearly established right?
Simply right, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did see Rich's hand up first, so we'll go in order. Rich?
Yes, I note that we don't need to litigate what the doctrine is. We merely need to provide a definition that refers to the doctrine, which exists outside this resolution. I believe that this definition does that and is clear, and I would be happy to vote on the resolution at this time. I would call the question if I am in order to do so.
Yeah, you can call to question. Letty?
No, I'm fine now.
Okay. So there is a
Thank
call
you
to
so
question.
much.
Is that seconded by anyone?
Second,
Was that Claire?
Aisha.
Aisha.
Richard spoke on it. He didn't have the authority to make a to approve for the vote. It had somebody else had to do it.
You mean because I expressed an opinion, I can't call the question?
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
So Brian?
I'd like to call the question.
All right. Is that seconded by anyone?
A second.
All right, seconded by Anton. All right, so please go back to your digital ballot and mark your vote on 8A. And do not hit submit yet. And then again, for those who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. Okay, so while people do that, Matt, do you have a report?
Just one more thing to add, just to remind everybody that we have our bystander intervention training coming up next Thursday in lieu of a regular public safety committee meeting. It is still a committee meeting for those who are on the committee, but I would certainly hope that other board members would like to join. Lots of great practical scenarios that will be discussed. A lot of things you can use in the real world here, as far as like remote de-escalation and just different best practices for intervention, bystander intervention. So again, that's next Thursday, October 20th, 6:30. I know Brendan is working with the Commission on Human Rights to finalize the flyer, and then it'll be distributed hopefully in the next couple of days. But I would like to invite everybody, and hopefully we'll have some good participation from the board and
Absolutely. I want to echo that. We'll be continuing to promote that. This is also an express need from the community. I know many people have talked about this as well. So thank you, Matt, for coordinating that and putting that together. And hope to see everyone there. Okay, any further questions for, oh, thank you. The link to the registration is in the chat. But are there any further questions or comments for public safety? Marty? Marty, you're on mute still.
Yeah. Just a statement. If you work for a company with more than 10 individuals, the New York City and the New York State sexual harassment laws apply. And as of a year ago, October, you were supposed to have had the 2-hour training and to be repeated every year.
Thank you, Marty. All right, so we'll move on to the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee.
Hello, everyone. As you might imagine, I would like to pull out D from any bundle situation and see if folks have any questions for me. We heard from members of the public, and we had a pretty fruitful conversation about it in our committee meeting. But if there are any questions, I'll take them. And
before we get to D, let's get A through C done first, and then we'll focus on D.
Move to bundle.
Hold up, Lou. Brian.
Yes, I'm moving to bundle A, B, and C.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that's seconded by Lou, I'm assuming.
Seconded.
Thank you. All right. So let's go back to our, all right. Are there any questions or comments about A through C or any motions? I'm calling to question. Marty?
Call the question.
Question. Is that seconded by anyone?
Second.
Seconded by Lou. Thank you. All right. So please go back to your digital ballot and mark your votes for A through C only. And do not hit submit yet. And those of you who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. So this is just A through C. Okay. Now let's get to D. Anne I saw Anne's. Anne, do you still have a question about D?
No, I was going to bundle and or call to question.
Okay. So I think we have a couple of questions about D. I saw Brian's hand up first.
Thank you, Kyle. So Claire, I know that what we heard tonight from the public speakers reflected a lot of technical information about the potential legality or appropriateness of having a restaurant operation in the courtyard. There was a lot of high emotions with that as well. Either at the committee or via tonight's proceedings, do we have any solid information about whether it is technically proper for this restaurant to operate in the space which they are looking for the renewal for?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Yeah, sorry, it's pretty bulky question. Is there information that would indicate to us that it is not proper for them to operate with the renewal that they've applied for?
The issue is like indoor versus outdoor. So our resolution does not approve of outdoor use, but we support them to continue their operations in the indoor space, which they have been doing for years past. Okay.
Okay. We'll go to B next. She had her hand up second.
Thank you, Carl. So Claire, I wanted to ask you, having listened to the comments at your committee meeting, were there members of the community that expressed what they expressed tonight?
Yes, they were there this month. There were no residents present for the previous meeting, which granted the initial alteration. So I think that that's a good point, but they were there at this most recent meeting.
And they expressed what they expressed tonight, and you guys took that into account?
Definitely, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move on to Gabe.
Thank you. Has the Seafire Grill themselves addressed this issue to your committee, and what's their take on this controversy?
Yeah, they were present there as well, and definitely disputed some of the claims of the residents, but maintained that they were a positive establishment in our neighborhood, and also seemed amicable to no longer serving outdoors in the courtyard.
Okay, next up, I saw Lou's hand up. Lou,
Was that me?
Yes, you, Lou.
Okay. I'm going to move to refer this back to committee to take into consideration the points raised by the speakers tonight, and to answer the question whether the premises for a commercial restaurant establishment is zoning code compliant, given the fact that it's in an apartment courtyard. That's something that should be addressed and referred to.
Okay, we can't refer this back to the committee if we want to have an opinion on this, as their license is up for renewal in about 10 days. Furthermore, we are not approving their operation in the courtyard, which is also not allowed by the Department of Buildings.
Okay, let's go to Marty.
The use of the outdoors or the premises has nothing to do with their liquor license. There are very few specific items that would enable us to say, take away the liquor license, like gunfire or someone being shot in the premises or stabbed right outside the premises, which we've had situations as such over the years. Using the courtyard, or if it was a outdoor, if they had tables in front of the building, or any other restaurant tables in front, that has nothing to do with the liquor license, nor should we take it into consideration that insofar as the approval of the liquor license for the establishment.
Thank you, Marty, for that. Yeah, I just want to provide some clarification on that as well from the back end. This resolution, as Claire has mentioned, is for the indoor use only for the restaurant space. In some ways, this issue of how a private courtyard is being used or not used is in some ways a private matter between the restaurant establishment and the property owner, if there's some, or the landlord, if there's some misuse of the space that they're using. So as Claire mentioned, this resolution is specifically about the indoor space, which they have apparently had no complaints about, is what the committee has reviewed. So, what they're, as Marty said, what they're doing outside, unless you want to take a punitive action based on how you feel about that, that's your own personal decision as how to you vote. But in terms of the resolution itself, is in some ways immaterial to the resolution.
Also, underage drinking within the facility is another issue that we could take up. But again, there's been no indication of that.
All right. So there's still a couple of hands that I want to go through. Rich's hand was up next. Rich, you're mute.
Do we have a motion on the floor now from Lou? or do we not?
I move that we refer this back to committee for discussion and review of the issues that have been raised and of the zoning issue, so that we're clear on the point.
Are you making that motion in light of Claire's clarification about the timeline? Lou?
I'm not clear on the timeline issue.
Claire, do you want to repeat it?
So if we move this back to committee, it's going to be essentially like we have no say and we're not going to put anything forth because this establishment specifically has to will be called before the SLA before the end of the month. So if we bring it back to committee, sure, but it's not going to have any effect on the establishment period. So
yeah. I mean, you wouldn't even
advise
have a November agenda at that point. All right. So with that in light, Lou, or do you still have your motion out there, or are you withdrawing your motion? It is time sensitive.
No, I'd like to go back to the committee because there are a number of very serious points that need to be reviewed, and perhaps the committee could clarify them and perhaps look at the zoning and the use of the indoor courtyard, which may or may not be zoning code compliant. These are things that we in fact ought to address in offering our opinion on this matter.
Lou, so would you like to offer an amendment to the resolution as is from the floor? Because what Claire said was if you refer it back to committee, it's not even going to be on the agenda because at that point, the time has lapsed.
I couldn't offer language because I'm not fully versed on some of the issues. That's why it should go back to committee to clarify and understand what's going on.
Yeah, the point is, like, if we refer back to committee, it won't be on the agenda in November because the time will have lapsed. There would be no point to having it on the agenda. So
furthermore, excuse me for interrupting, Kyle, but we did have an extensive conversation about this in committee already, and Brendan and the Home Office did a lot of research and reached out to various city agencies to clarify this, which is reflected in the resolution. So I just want to put that out there. It's not that we haven't researched this or really thought about it.
Okay.
So we could ask the SLA to delay its finding on this matter or the renewal until we can clarify the issues. It's very unusual for people to come in and object to a premises, and here we had a very substantial number of people come in and object to the use of the premises as it's being currently occupied.
Furthermore, in the committee meeting, almost all of the members of the public admitted that they do frequent the indoor establishment of the Seafire Grill and support it and have appreciated it as an addition to the neighborhood. So again, we are rejecting outdoor use, which is not permitted by the Department of Buildings. That is in the resolution, if you read it. And I think it's really clear, but I'll just try to stay a little more neutral here.
No, I appreciate that, Claire, and I haven't heard anyone second it, so we'll move on.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rich, did you have a follow-up, or is this anyone? Because I want to give other people a chance to speak as well.
My follow-up was going to be to call the question on the original resolution if there was not a motion on the floor.
Let's give there are a couple of hands up, so
okay.
Let's hold on to that. Anne, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this resolution kind of says like we're okay with them as a restaurant, but not as, taking over public space, or not public space, but private space that's not theirs. And I think the resolution does say that. On the other hand, I mean, I also, though, kind of disagree with Marty in that I think one of the things the Business Affairs Committee takes into account is kind of how good a neighbor an existing establishment is. And I feel like in this case, we have some pretty good evidence that they're not being a great neighbor. And so I think that is valid to consider. Again, though, I do think the resolution says we're okay with the restaurant, not okay
with the thing. There are some just language problems. There are missing prepositions in the resolves.
Could you send that to us? Those little grammatical errors, please, Anne?
Sure.
Thank you. All right, and let's move on to Reshma.
So my question is, you mentioned how it's a private building and the agreement is with the restaurant and that private landlord, but then what remedy do the residents who came and spoke today have, especially because this is a building, there are some rent controlled apartments which are been grandfathered, and then there are market rate apartments there. And as we've seen in other situations, oftentimes landlords want to treat tenants poorly, so they'll leave and they can use those apartments at market rate.
I don't really think that that's an issue that the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee speaks to. Certainly, the residents have the board's contact information, and maybe that's something that gets referred to the Housing Committee. And we did encourage them to reach out to us and continue the conversation in terms of the certificate of occupancy issues and just to stay in contact. So I hear what you're saying, Reshma, but I have no idea how we would, as the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can also provide some, like, we haven't received complaints about like tenants being harassed for having something rent controlled or rent stabilized. So as far as we know, like, that's not the issue. If that is an issue, that's definitely something that we could pursue. But for the purposes of this resolution, that would only be speculative and not really based in anything as of now, as far as what we've heard, even from the residents themselves. So again, it's one of those weird things that if the establishment that they've allowed to utilize near that property or another property has abused it, I'm not sure why the property itself is not complaining against them or pushing them out. So there is definitely some other stuff that's going on here that we'll definitely be following up on from the board office, but for the purpose of the liquor license isn't within the scope of that.
Yeah, no, I understand. I was just bringing that up because when we say that it's not a matter we get involved in, I wanted to kind of bring it up as a bigger issue that could be happening.
Yeah, as a big issue, it is something we get involved in for the purpose of the license itself.
Yes.
Is different. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. B, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. I was just going to go back to what Claire said in response to everything. This is a limited resolution that deals with the inside restaurant. There are other issues, but they have to be dealt with in different ways. So I think the community board needs to focus on what we need to do for the licensing of the indoor restaurant. And the other issues can be handled at the community board, with issues, and see if there's any referral to any other committees that can deal with the landlord or talk to the people renting as to whether harassment. So I think it's pretty clear what we're voting on, and I would hope someone would make a motion to move the question.
All right, thank you. Brian?
B lifted everything nearly completely out of my mouth as I was going to say it. I just wanted to add the point that, we have business before us to deal with the matter at hand, which is to talk about the indoor on-premises liquor license that's relevant to the liquor license on premises and not to their use of the building. And I think that it is best for us to proceed with handling that business as efficiently as possible and not to get tied up with the issue that has been reported to us tonight, which does have a different conflict resolution pathway, which we can bring up through city agencies. So I think that this resolution voted on by the committee advanced to us is a good resolution, and I'm going to be voting for it.
Thank you, Brian. And Marty?
Called the question.
The question, is that seconded by anyone?
Seconded.
Seconded by B. So all of us, please go back to the digital ballot and mark our vote for 9D. And once you have completed your vote for 9D, please make sure you have voted on all of the resolutions tonight, and then you can hit submit. And while people are doing that, Claire, do you have a report?
I'm gonna waive my report in the interest of time tonight, but thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Claire. All right, so we'll now move on to Environment and Parks. Kevin?
Thanks, Kyle. The committee is pleased to join Pat Hill, who I see is still on here, from earlier this evening to help spread the news about the New Wave Pier Dog Run. The run has advanced from our committee's resolution and full board passage to Councilmember Powers' announcement last week that he has allocated $15,000 to the Parks Department for the dog run to open as early as next month. Now, on this progress, the committee wants to recognize some superb work, and that's the work of Steve O, who made the presentation to the committee for the dog run, a presentation, as we've seen, that's made a lot of headway. Steve has been the driving force for Alliance for Kits Bay on this project. This is a huge win for the community, and it would not have happened without Steve's unwavering passion, commitment, and leadership. Now, Steve may say it's his dog Kona who is the inspiration for the dog run getting to this point. So the committee recognizes both of them. Separately, I did want to touch briefly on a topic more than one member asked me to expand on tonight in this report. I'm talking about meeting minutes. For many, the lanternfly of community boards. As some of you know, within our committee, I have introduced more efficiency on minutes through the use of technology. From corporate to government boards, a digital move is afoot for meeting minutes to be automated and then easily streamlined to correct any spelling of proper nouns, then archive forever as easily word searchable documents. In addition to having members' valuable time spent on progress, not minutes, this also delivers a lot more objectivity. I saw recently from July, the business media outlet Fast Company published a story on making business meetings more manageable. The number 2 suggestion was changing from manual meeting minutes to what the story calls easy and accurate automated meeting minutes. The article starts, can you take notes? Those might be the 4 worst words in all of meetingdom. Thankfully, it's 2002 and we have a nice selection of non-human options. Speaking of technology, I recently informed Cb6 members via email that this is my last meeting as committee chair. In the spirit of inclusivity, it's time on this committee to allow someone else the opportunity to share their passion and perspective to serve as chair of the Environment and Parks Committee. I've truly enjoyed my time as chair, and of course, I will be available as a resource to the committee's next chair. That's my report.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. And please send your thoughts on the minutes to the Bylaws Committee. This is something that the Executive Committee first brought up last fall, I believe, on how to proceed in a virtual world. Obviously, things are a little complicated now for called back in person, called back into hybrid modes. So we should have a board policy on that rather than having committees operate individually. So please do send that to B and her committee discussion during the Bylaws Committee, because that's definitely something written in.
Thank you. And a salute to B, because I actually listened to the full Bylaws Committee and she did bring it up with robust discussion. So thank you for fully having it on your radar. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you, Kevin, for your service as Environment and Parks Chair over the last 2 years.
Hey, my pleasure. No problem.
Yeah. Any further questions for Environment and Parks? All right, seeing none, we'll now move on to the last committee, Health and Human Services. Elvie?
Thank you, Carl. I just want to make an announcement that we're not going to have a meeting tomorrow, and our next meeting is on November 10. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Elvie. Seeing no further questions for Elvie, we'll now move on to old or new business. So board members, if you have any old or new business to state, please raise your hand through Zoom. All right, seeing none, we'll now move on to the second roll call.
All right, Matt Bondi had to leave, so he asked me to do the second roll call. Ronnie White.
Present.
Mara Wong.
Present.
Matthew Weintraub,
Present.
Brian Van Nieuwenhoven,
Present.
Gabriel Turzo.
Pre-
I'm sorry, Gabriel. I thought I heard something, but I see Gabriel's camera there, so I'll assume that he said present. Moving on to Mark Thompson.
Present, and I can see Gabriel trying to say something.
All right.
Oh, was that frozen? I'm present.
Thank you, thank you. I was beginning to think it was that song that we were promised earlier. Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, I think it was. All right, Susan Steinberg.
Present.
Thank you. Hannah Singleman.
Present.
Thank you. Letty Simon.
Present. Congratulations to all those elected and re-elected tonight. And to Kyle and to Kevin for running a good race.
Thank you. Aisha Siddiqui.
Present. Have a good night.
Thank you. Sandro Sherrod.
Present.
Thank you. Seema Shah.
Present.
Thank you. Lou Sapersky.
Yo,
And Lou, we do not have your ballot. Please submit it.
I'll dictate it when we're done with the roll call. I've got it written down. I have trouble with the ballot process electronically.
Brendan, do you have actually a ballot pulled up now?
Yep, I have one pulled up now.
All right. Will you please dictate your votes to Brendan?
For A, transportation, the street co-naming. Lou, you're on mute right now. Okay, I see Lou's hand is raised.
Yeah.
So the first one for, go ahead.
I'm sorry, 6A, yay.
Okay.
8A, yes, yay.
Okay.
9, A, B, and C, yay.
Okay.
9D, no.
Okay.
What have I got left?
I didn't hear your votes on 4A, 4B, and 5A.
4A and 4B, yay. And 5A, yay.
Great. We have your votes.
Thank you. I'm sorry about the problem. We've got to work out this business of the electronic voting. It's my computer and the electronic voting process don't seem to be working together, but we'll sort it out.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. We will now move on to Ann Seligman.
Here.
Thank you. Larry Shire.
Present, and I want to thank Letty Simon and Sandra Leftoff of the Elections Committee for all of their hard work and assistance in connection with this conducting this year's election.
Thank you, Larry. Matt Roberts.
Still here.
Thank you. Reshma Patel.
Present.
Thank you. Stephen O.
Present.
Thank you. Kevin O'Keefe.
I'm present.
Thank you. Raj Nair.
Present.
Thank you. Phil Napolitano was not feeling well. Rich Mintz.
Present.
Thank you. Sandy McKee.
Present.
Thank you. Kavitha Matthew.
Present.
Thank you. Anton Malner.
Present.
Thank you. Jason Littman.
I'm present.
Thank you. Sandra Leftoff.
Present, and thanks, Larry.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Abigail Kruzmark. He is not with us tonight. Nadim Kilani.
Present.
Thank you. John Keller.
In honor of Claude L. Winfield, EC.
Thank you. Or merci. Paige Judge.
Here.
Thank you. Sadie Howard could not be with us tonight. Molly Hollister, I do not see your ballot. Molly Hollister is no longer here. All right. Adam Hartke.
Present.
Thank you. Eric Goldberg.
Here.
Thank you. Jason Fromowitz.
Present.
Thank you. Jeannie D'Onofrio is not with us tonight. B. Disman.
Present.
Thank you. Michael Devereaux.
Present.
Thank you. Stuart Desser.
Here.
Thank you. Jonathan DeRico.
Present.
Thank you. Jim Collins could not be with us tonight. Claire Brennan.
Present.
Thank you. Matt Bondi had to leave. Elvie Barroso.
Present.
Thank you. Martin Barrett.
Present, but a roll call without Claude L. Winfield, something's missing.
Thank you. Neil Barkley.
Present.
Thank you. Kyle Athaid.
Present.
And Majed Abdul Samad.
Present.
Thank you. All right. So now let's call some votes. For transportation, 4A, 36 in favor, 4 opposed, 3 abstentions. The resolution passes. Transportation, 4B, 41 in favor, 1 opposed, no abstentions, 1 not entitled. The resolution passes. Executive Committee, 5A, 42 in favor, 1 abstention, no opposed, no not entitled. The resolution passes. Budget, 6A. It was a unanimous vote, 43 in favor, obviously no opposed, no abstentions, and no not entitled. Public Safety, 8A, 34 in favor, 2 opposed, 5 abstentions, 2 not entitled. The resolution passes. Bulk, 9A, 43 in favor, unanimous, obviously no opposed, no abstentions, no not entitled. Bulk 9B, again, unanimous, 43 in favor. Bulk 9C, again, unanimous, 43 in favor. Bulk 9D, 34 in favor, 4 opposed, 5 abstentions, no not entitled. That concludes the vote tallies for our resolutions tonight.
All right, thank you.
Kyle.
Thank you, Jesus. If there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. And seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 9:27 p.m. Hope everyone has a great